Hello, Cliff Stanwyck, Stanwyck Real Estate, and I'm here to go over all the sold home analytics for the first half of the month in Roseville, Granite Bay, and Loomis, California. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to give you some insight of what's happening in the current real estate market. We've heard about a lot of hope, and that's what it is. It's hope that somehow this market is going to get softer and there's going to be a buying opportunity and the affordability is going to get better. And unfortunately, that is very far from the truth. And I'm here today to tell you what's really going on. We're going to look at the sold price to list price. We're going to look at the time on market. We're going to look at the concessions that were made, if any. We're going to look at the number of offers on all these homes. And I think it's going to open your eyes to how this market is really working. And I'm going to give a quick summary here because at the end of the day, everybody wants a summary rather than listening to some rambling real estate professional go through all the data or read off the stuff. I do these things without a script and it shows. But let me just tell you what the reality is. The prices currently for the first half of March are significantly higher than the data that is shown on popular websites. And that's in regards to looking at average sales prices. And that's what they use. It's probably up $20,000. So that's the first point. The second point is houses are selling more often than not in less than 11 days. The median home is in contract in 11 days, and literally that's half the houses. And then when you extrapolate to a month, it's up to 70%. So we have some inventory that's been on forever and that was overpriced. But if you go out on this market, it is selling. And the other point, which is the summary, is there are concessions being given. There are credits. Sellers are not, getting all the money. They are making repairs. They are helping financing. They are doing whatever they can to close this deal, because if you don't sell to that buyer, there's no guarantee with this sort of rate environment or even the feeling of the market right now because of what's going on with the banks, that these buyers may be around in a week. So you're just putting them in contract, and as a seller, you're doing whatever you can to get the house done. And that can be either roughly, probably anywhere from 1 to 3% of the list price that you're in contract for, or the sales price. You're negotiating that away. So essentially, you're going out at last year's values and you're giving up 1 to 3% of the price to make it close. That's what the market is. And so now we're just going to do a little bit of a deeper dive. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at essentially the stats. And the stats, where we see the first issue is MetroList, which is a platform that I use, and we just really care about the red line. At the end of the year in October, November, and December, the average sales price was around $750,000. And of course, in January, it always dips. There's a lot of lingering inventory. There's not a lot of inventory. There's not a lot of buyers. So it's kind of like basically the junk of the market. Usually is sold between Christmas and New Year's, or I should say Thanksgiving and New Year's. And then in January, we saw the prices all of a sudden go up essentially 5%. They went from 700 to 740. And again, that is pretty much trending like it was at the end of the year. Now we're going to look at what the first 15 days of this market is telling us, right? So at the end of February, the number was 737. On this, we're talking 775. So you're essentially, 25 plus 13. You're almost $40,000 higher in an average price. Now the median price is 669. Okay, so prices are up. And when you have an average price higher than a median price, that means prices are going up. Now, if we scroll down, you're seeing more data that 70% of these houses are in market or in contract in um, in in essentially 30 days. Now, look at the close price to list price here. 99.86%, 98. So you're not um, you're not you're not selling for less than your list price, but if your market price is good, you're gone, right? Your house is sold, right? So that's the reality of this market. This market is really moving, and that's really the reality. 2/3 of the houses are gone in less than a month. But getting back to the median time on this thing is 11 days. You know, I made a video on like sellers, why aren't you selling? If you want to sell, you will sell in this market. You do have to be aware that you're not going to ask for a crazy list price, that your list price to sales price needs to be probably very close, but you will sell in this market. So let's hop in and look at the data. Now, this is the data of essentially 72 homes that I looked at from basically Roseville, Loomis, and Granite Bay. And I want you to notice a few things, that when you see the green, these are homes that sold in less than 20 days, okay? There are price concessions, okay? There's concessions, and they're not selling for list. Like here's a house that went in with basically, you know, 3 offers, and it was 7 days on market, and it was cash, and they still gave a seller credit. Here's another house that had one offer, right? We can look at some of these multiple offers, right? And there are some concessions going on, either in the list price or in the sales price. You know, one here, 12 days on market. This was a house in Sun City, $10,000 off the price, okay? And then $1,200 in roof repairs. Here's a house that in Morgan Creek, brand new construction. It was 9 days on the market, and there was $5,000 worth of closing costs. And here's another house that was 10. This was in Timber Rose. This is another Sun City house, $10,000 of negotiation off the price. Here's some houses that were cash and they were longer on the market. And again, 120 and 105 days and cash offers, and they only got essentially here a couple percent off the price. So again, this gets back to the conversation that I was talking about, where people are pricing their houses correctly. They're not 20% over list. They're close. They understand the market price because the buyers understand the market price, and they're getting into contract and they're making concessions to sell the house. And another thing that I wanted to point out, you know, looking at the data, is there's not a lot of crazy rent backs, okay? There's repairs. There's not any replacement property when I looked at all these sales, these 72 houses. So that's the other part that is really changing in the data, is there's no longer as is, because literally almost every one of these houses, they're discounted somewhere. They're discounted from closing, from the list price, and there's other concessions that come up on the deal. There's closing. Here's one house that sold for, that was 30 days on the market and was $130,000 left because it was a new construction house, and it was based on the base price of the house. So the list price, but the commissions were paid on the base. So again, even when you see these crazy deals, there's always a story, and that's another part of this thing, right? Here's a house that was 184 days on the market, and it basically sold for $50,000 off for cash. It was $470 for $420. So there are some situations. There was a house in Buena Vista that had a pool, and it sold for $55,000 over, but there's this call listing agent for concessions. So there was some concessions. So even if you do get a lot of offers, okay, and again, you'll see a lot of offers on some of the new construction, there is here was a house that was 9 days on the market with $69,000 off, but it was essentially a newer house. So there's a story to this market that you have to pay attention to. And the other thing I want to share with you is 1 out of 5 of these houses is being purchased with cash. That doesn't mean anything, because when you sit here and you look at some of the prices, they're not necessarily higher and they're not necessarily lower. They cover the whole gamut. House on Red Willow, it was a cash deal, and they got $2,500 in closing costs. This is really the story of the market, and again, it comes back to the inventory, and the inventories are still lower than they were in 2019. They're still lower than they are in 2020, and the inventories are lower than they were a year ago. So we're not seeing this inventory bubble. We're not seeing anything other than sellers are realizing that they're not going to be able to negotiate off their list price if they want to sell their house. They need to price their house for the market value wherever they're selling, and then they have to be furthermore willing to make concessions to get the house sold. A repair comes up, you got a credit for it. And a closing cost issue comes up, you got to be willing to pay for it. And that's the market right now. And if you have any questions about this data, I'll be more than happy to share with you all the data that I've done on this. If you like this type of video, I really would appreciate if you go to my Facebook page at Cliff Stanwick Real Estate and like it. I post these videos here. You can go to my YouTube, which is Cliff Stanwick Real Estate, and you can subscribe and also select a notification. I try to post several videos a week, and hopefully they're helpful. With that, I want to wish you all the best in this market. It's hopping, it's moving faster than you think, and it's selling for more money than you think. With that, I just want to wish everyone